Hello everyone and welcome to Keys to Confidence. In this video we're going to be going through all the absolute basics of reading music. We'll talk about notes, rhythm, time signatures, key signatures, and half steps and whole steps. First of all, let's look at the piano itself. You'll notice here that the black keys repeat in a pattern. We have 2 black keys, then 3 black keys, then 2 black keys, and it repeats all over. So 3, 2, 3, 2, and so on. This pattern repeats over the entire keyboard. These white keys will be called your natural keys, and they go in a pattern. So usually they start with C, but just for learning purposes, we'll start with A, because that's the first letter of the alphabet. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it repeats again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Usually people will start with C. This is C because it's just it's like the grounding note for piano. These black keys have special names that we will go over a little bit later. If you go up, it's called a sharp. If you go down, it's called a flat. So the white key immediately to the left of these 2 black keys is called C. From C, again, the white keys go up in an alphabetical order, C, D, E, F, G, and then it restarts to A, B, and then again, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. C is going to be your most important key on the piano. Basically every song will revolve around this key. This one, you can't really tell from the video, but this is the one right in the middle of the piano. This is creatively going to be called your middle C. This is, when you're reading music, this is going to be the bottom line of your right hand notes and the top line of your left handed notes. So it's very useful when reading music. So now we can talk about half steps and whole steps. A half step is the smallest distance that you can move on a piano. It's just going to the very next key, whether it's black or white. So C to C sharp, remember going up, so it's sharp. This is called a half step. And then C sharp to D natural, also a half step, because you're only going up 1 note. Now a whole step is made up of 2 half steps. So if you go 1 half step, 2 half steps. So C to D, there's 1 note in between C and D, so that is a whole step. C to D is a whole step, D to E. Now look, there's no black key in between E and F, so E to F is a half step, and then E to F sharp is a whole step. So here it gets kind of complicated, and B to C is a half step, while B to C sharp is a whole step. So this idea is very important, and will come up again when you watch my videos about scales and keys. I'll refer to them as half steps and whole steps. Now for more fluent reading, we look at the distance between notes when you're reading music rather than reading every note individually. If you see that a note skips a line or a space, that's a step, and if they jump over a line or a space, that's a skip. So again, step, half step, whole step. Now that we know which notes are where, so again, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, now we can find them on a piano. We'll see what that means when we read music. This is called the musical staff. It has 5 lines and 4 spaces. Every line or space represents a different note. These vertical lines are called bar lines, and the space between them is called a measure. Each measure will contain a set number of beats, which is dependent on the time signature. In this example right here, the time signature is 4/4, which means there will be 4 quarter notes in a bar, and we'll go over what that means later. So to start, we'll look at the treble clef, which is usually played with the right hand. You can tell it's treble clef because of this sign right here. This is your treble clef sign. If you see this, then that means that this is how you read the staff. So this note right here is middle C. Again, middle C is in the center of the keyboard, and middle C is important because it helps you stay oriented when reading music. Notes above this middle C will sound higher, and notes below this middle C will sound lower. When you're reading notes on sheet music, you'll see that as the notes move up the staff, the sound moves higher. As notes move down the staff, the sound moves lower. So think of reading music as just reading directions, not reading specific letters, but seeing higher or lower notes. Now we can break the staff into 2 parts. There's line notes and space notes for treble clef. The line notes in treble clef are E, G, B, D, F. And a lot of people remember this mnemonic by every good boy does fine. So E, every, G, good, B, boy, D, does, F, fine. And notice how we're skipping a note, so that note in the middle, that's going to be a space note. So these are your line notes for treble clef. Every good boy does, fine. And then for the space notes, or you could say every good boy deserves fudge, if that helps you remember better. Whatever works for you. Now the space notes here, that's F, A, C, E. There's only 4 of them because there's 4 spaces, remember? F, A, C, E, that spells face. So the space notes spell face, and the line notes, every good boy does fine, or every good boy deserves fudge. Now for bass clef, this is usually going to be played in your left hand. These are going to be lower than your treble clef, and this is what middle C looks like on the bass clef. So you can see it's above the staff, while in the treble clef it was at the bottom of the staff. So this is your middle C. Again, if we break the staff into 2 parts, the line notes in the bass clef are G, B, D, F, A. Or you could also remember good boys do fine always, or again, good boys deserve fudge always. And the space notes, A, C, E, G, in your bass clef, that is all cows eat grass. A, C, E, G, all cows eat grass. Now, if you look at your music, and you look at your sheet music, and you see you have notes that are stacked like this, it's like 2 or 3 or even 4 sometimes stacked on top of each other, you play the notes at the same time. So this is going to be a C chord. So right here is just C, E, G. You just play them at the same time. That's how to read those. The easiest way to read these chords is to look at the space between them instead of reading each individual note. So to look at the interval between them, if you see that it's like a space to a line note that's next to each other, C to D, that's a second, a third, 4th, 5th, and so on, 6th, 7th, 8th, it goes on. And so the most basic way to be able to read these stack chords is to look at how many spaces are between each note rather than look at each note individually. That can help. So if you see like an inversion, maybe you have something that looks a little like this, you can tell that this is a third, so there's going to be, a space between them, but this is a 4th. And so it depends on the spacing between your chords. Now, the most basic way to set your hand is to have your thumb on the bottom note. For the most beginner reading levels, this will almost always be C. So you can set your thumb on C, and then your fingers will just follow C, D, E, F, G. It's kind of just the natural way your hand falls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the biggest thing with reading music for the first time is that you don't need to memorize everything at once. You just have to recognize patterns. For more practice with reading notes, I recommend checking out the sheet music section of this website. I have some beginner, some intermediate, and some advanced music pieces for you to try out and practice. And you can listen to the music on the website that it sends you to, if you want to hear what it sounds like and get more practice with that. So now let's talk about rhythm. We'll just do a very basic overview of it since I have a different video on it later, but rhythm talks about how long each note should last. So this is a whole note, it lasts 4 beats. So you'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you play it, you just hold it down for that entire time. So a whole note on C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. A half note looks like this. It's got empty space in the middle, and there's a stem attached. So the empty space with the stem is going to be 2 notes, or 2 beats. So that's on the C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're counting to 4 because if you see the time signature, you can see that is in 4/4. So there's going to be 4 beats. Now, this is a quarter note. It's a filled in bubble, and it has a stem attached to it. So that's going to be every beat gets a note. So the quarter notes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is an eighth note. If it's alone, it'll have a little flag at the end, but usually it'll be connected to another eighth note, and so you'll see that they're barred together at the top like this. That means you go in the space between the numbers. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, you kind of hit the space in the middle. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So if I have my 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter notes, if this is my basic beat, then the eighth notes are going to fill in between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now these are your basic rhythms. There'll be a more detailed video about rhythms later. A rest means silence. So this is what all the rests look like. This is a whole rest, a half rest, and a quarter rest, and an eighth rest. So you would count them the same as a regular note, but you just wouldn't play anything. So for example, here you see it's quarter, quarter, rest, quarter. That'll sound like quarter, quarter, rest, quarter. But it's still in time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, rest, 4. So it's just the same amount of time, but you just wouldn't play anything. You'd count them silently. Now this is a time signature. A time signature tells you how many beats are in each measure. So the top number tells you how many beats you get, and the bottom number tells you which note counts for one beat. The most common time signature that you'll see, especially when starting out music, is going to be 4/4. That means there are 4 beats per measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. So remember, the quarter note is 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 4 beats per measure. So to count these, we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. If, for instance, this time signature is 3/4, then remember the quarter note gets the beat. So it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, but we only get 3 quarter notes. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It'll be easier to see once you start playing music, once you hear songs that have that key signature, or that time signature. Once you hear songs that have that time signature, and you'll be able to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, a key signature tells you which notes are automatically sharp or flat. A sharp raises a note by a half step, like I showed you here, so this is your natural. A sharp raises a note, and this is a flat. So it'll be probably easier to show on D. So D, if I go up to the black key, this is a D sharp, but D, if I go down to the black key, it's a D flat. So a sharp raises a note by a half step, and a flat lowers a note by a half step. For example, in the key of G, as you can see from the key signature here, there's a sharp sign on F, on the F line, if in the treble clef. So that means that every F will be sharp in the entire piece of music. So you're looking at this, and you see that on the sheet music, there's no sharps or flats. It's just, it looks like F natural, but because of the key signature, you can see that the F is sharp. And the way you can read key signatures is if it's sharp keys, depending on how many sharp notes there are, you can use the mnemonic Father, Charles, goes, down, and, ends, battle. So if there's only one sharp, you always know it's F. If there's 2 sharps, it's always F and C. And so F, C, G, D, A, E, B, or like the mnemonic is a lot easier to remember. Father, Charles, goes, down, and E sharp, ends, battle. So if you see all 7 sharp keys, that means there's no naturals. It's going to be all sharp. So if you read E, if you see E on the music, you'll read it E sharp. And again, for flats, it's just the opposite. So battle, ends, and, down, goes, Charles, Father. So if you see 1 flat, that's going to be B flat, 2 flats, B, E, 3 flats, B, E, A, 4 flats, B, E, A, D, and so on. Now these key signatures tell you what key you're in, and to find out what key you're in, I recommend looking at my keys and scales section of this website, because that'll explain what the key signature means for the key you're looking for and how to play it. Like what keys, what sharps and flats you might have, and what naturals you have, and what key you're in. And so the key signature is very important because it helps writers from having to write in all the sharp signs and the flat signs all the time. So you look at the key signature. If you see an F sharp in the key signature, every F in the piece will be F sharp. And that is your introduction to reading music. You learned how notes work on the piano, how rhythm works, time signatures, and key signatures, and those are all the very basics. Don't worry if this feels like a lot. This was a lot of information, and it's super normal to feel a little overwhelmed. Go slowly, replay sections of this video, watch other videos if you need to, and spend time just finding notes on the piano and trying to read the music. Again, I have some beginner level music for you to try out in the pieces section of the sheet music section of this website. So go check that out, try it out for yourself, try to play a little bit piano, and you'll be playing in no time. In the next lesson, I think we focus on rhythm. So I hope to see you there. Thank you.